Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I am the player who plays as the King Under the Mountain, and today I am going to be talking to you about my series of videos called Rise of the Free-to-Play, which is basically a guide in becoming just a good player all round for your fellowship. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to apply this to free-to-play. Anyone can do this and benefit as well now from contribution points. So, what we're going to talk about today is the value of effective clearing for your team. Really interesting topic, I think, particularly now the devs have clearly recognized that this is one thing that is really important in warfare under the new sort of mechanics of 2.0 or 2.5, whatever you want to call it now. And this kind of blanket of tiles that you have to get through if you're going through any zone now. So, earlier on, all this area here would have been red, and slowly throughout the day people kind of come along, they take tiles, they drop tiles, but ultimately the devs have recognized this is a lot of time in the game, and they are still 5-minute timers, granted, but this effective clearing of areas and how you go about it is what we're going to talk about, and how now even as a free to play you can get great contribution points just by getting rid of all these tiles really from your enemy. And we're going to go and look at things like makeup of the fort composition, depending on what you're doing and where you are. We're going to look at things like how many mains you might need in there, depending on how it is, and just kind of what works generally and what units are good for this. And we'll probably start with what units are good for this. So at the moment, I have Black Serpent down here with 231 units, it says on him. So basically, we are looking to just make sure he can siege 1 tiles, because that is the majority of what these are. And he has Alchemists on him because this is the best way of getting over 100 siege. Now, if you get to 100 siege, you can take a 1 tile, which is what we're doing here. So he is there. There are players who will send 3 to 4 tilers at the same time, so you can clear an area more effectively. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So even though sending 1 tiler is nice, sending more than 1 is also really nice. Just a slight side note, and I'm just going to very briefly talk about this because it's not something that I'm a big fan of, to be honest. Throwing workshops on the front line for the resource cost, it's not for me. I get the principle because you get a wider field of vision, and realistically, my tiler here, who's only taking 1 tiles, would have to hit this tile twice for it to sort of be taken. But ultimately, on the front line, I'm not entirely convinced workshops are a great idea. The other things that are a great idea to take if you are clearing areas are these road tiles, and probably keeping these road tiles, which is a little bit silly that they've been dropped here, because ultimately they are good for your transportation routes, which is what people are building here, where they've started building the transportation route. If this gets taken, I think we can start building down here. So the makeup of the fort is another topic that's quite interesting. So if I just go to my fort, which I think is somewhere way back here, I'm guessing that's not that fort. It will be this fort here. So the makeup of the fort is quite an interesting one. And with the new mechanics, it's quite good to be able to change things around. So in here, generally, in this fort, I would have at least 1 main, depending on what's going on. If it is a battlefront, and just with the size of my account, I would be looking at probably 2 mains, if I'm honest, and having my B team in there. My B team's currently in a fort further back. But what you can do is I would fill this with 2 or 3 formations of just small numbers of troops. Now, I haven't got many alchemists because they're currently walking over in this siege formation here. So I would personally go 1 main, 3 small tiling formations, 1 siege, and then 1 formation which is capable of taking either road tiles without too much loss, which in this case is this formation for me, or taking things that are higher than a 1 power tile. And all you can do is you just literally fill your fort up, and you will go to your... Now they've changed the mechanics on how forts work. You can go to what will be your tiler, which is your, in this case, my Eowyn, because it's only 1 person who flew over here on eagles. And we can add something from this fort, probably guardians, to be honest, to the point whereby we get to just over 100 siege. And now I have another tiler. Now, the reason I suggest alchemists and not not something like even a Guardian, is 600 Guardians is still quite expensive if you were to get caught tiling, because people will try and trap guard you and things like that. So then we come down to where the front is and we look for these 1 tiles. And we are going to start basically just travelling down and start taking these tiles. And then Black Serpent has just finished that tile, so Black Serpent will take another one. If you're on a battlefront, it is quite important that you don't drop these tiles. But in this case here, it's okay to drop the tiles back there, mainly due to the fact that there is no battlefront here. Now, if we were trying to disconnect this area, you would probably take this tile here, take this tile here or that tile there, and then cut the entire corner, which would be quite interesting to do. And it stops that whole area here from being able to people to come through from this side. So this is someone who's taking multiple tiles at the same time, and you'll see people who tend to leave 30 to 40 tiles free if that's what they feel their main function is. I personally like having a lot of production, so I tend to leave something like 16 to 20 tiles at most, depending on what front I'm on. Earlier in a season, I might even only have 3 tiles open, for example, because you're not going very far. If you are trapped at crossing warfares for too long, I would also suggest filling up on tiles for the time being, because you may as well get the resources than that. So this is where a group of players, so if you imagine if every player sent 3 formations like this one to clear 1 tiles, who's in an area, say if you've got 20 or 30 tiles, you can take such a substantial amount of tiles really fast and just help your formation push forward. You always need your 1 siege commander, because there will always be forts around. So again, once my siege arrives, I will send down here. So my siege, this is an empty fort. I think my siege is about 50 seconds away. There you go. So once they hit the fort, I will send them right the way down here. You will see people here either waiting to siege or sieging, and this is kind of the front line where my main will sit and basically hunt to see what's going on. If things like this, for example, is currently full, so I would hit that before going any further down, and people just push through here. So again, just to show you how those dynamics work, I have this formation here waiting to take anything that's above a 1 tile basically at this stage. And all I'm doing yet again is I am taking the Felbeasts or Eagles off them, which is what we did before. And we're going to switch onto them some Dwarves, because let's face it, everyone likes Dwarves. And we're going to give Falcon that. And even though we're not full, it's not going to matter for the sake of this. Probably get the Rams on there actually, then we'll be full. And then this formation now can come down with just some purple gear. And it can come down and start taking things like these road tiles, which can be a bit of a menace if you're being honest. I don't know why that's press the store, but there you go. So again, I'm going to come down here now with that slightly stronger formation and start taking out these road tiles. So again, I can clean these happily because no enemy can get anywhere near me. And this blockade here that's being created is sort of coming from our cleaning. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to relocate that fort, which is here, and I'm going to send my siege at this fort, which is just outside my range, which is okay on this particular occasion because we own this land. If we didn't own this land, I wouldn't be able to do it, and I'd have to probably take the ruins first. So that's one point of clearing. Here's someone who uses workshops. And again, I kind of get it if you want to see where you're at with things and sort of you get a bit further range from a workshop. But for me, it's just not something that I like to do. So now, Eowyn, I thought I'd sent Eowyn a tile, to be honest. Anyway, I'll send it down here. So Eowyn now comes down to this 1 tile. Although Black Serpent probably could have took it by the time that's the case. And what we're taking advantage of here is we can fly teams over with Eagles into here, like this team here that's arrived, and then swap out whatever units we want. So I know that on this next trip, I'm going to need quite a lot of Guardians because I'm running quite a lot of Guardians. So I'm now going to refill my fort. I'll probably make sure I've got enough for 1 main's worth of trolls as well, like so. And then I'll send those troops over. And my reinforce time is only 4 minutes and 20 seconds, rather than my actual march time is about 22 minutes. So again, it's just a powerful tool to help you effectively clear that zone. if you stick with that kind of system, really, where if you max your fort out and start doing this, you can really move through an area quite quickly, and you'll see how these people are moving around. But having 3 small tilers, you can change it slightly, so you could do 2 people for taking 1 tiles like these, and you could have 1 for taking, say, up to a 40, sort of like a 40 power tile, which is okay. But you definitely need someone in the background who can clear these 150s or clear the road tiles, because they're really important tiles that otherwise get missed. Tiling is something in the game that is becoming more and more and more important, and like I say, the devs have recognized this with contribution points. But I would recommend that you basically max out the fort and where you're near to sort of starting this kind of clearing method. And as you can see here, you can use every single army in your barracks all day, every day to do this sort of system. And it works really well, and it's a really horrible way of the enemy basically getting pushed back, really. So because I won't be able to actually take this tile, well, they've attacked anyway because I'm slightly outside my range, I will have to build a fort somewhere along here. So my next job is going to be to send Bard down, he says, and I'm going to build a fort at the front line. And if I'm under any kind of danger at any stage of that fort being hit, I'll just move my main back. And my main is basically the important part of shielding my tilers. So if my tiler was here, for example, and something was coming up to attack, I would shield that tiler with my main or withdraw my tiler. Now, if someone is sending a main because you've basically had these 3 or 4 armies that are all taking 1 tiles, like, you know, you've got people here taking 130s, you've got people here, you've got people taking 90s and 30s and 40s and 60s. If someone sends a main at these people, you are wasting their main stamina. And that's another really important part of this method, because if you can spread them out a little bit so they can't just guard one, so say if you tried to get these 2 tiles here, they could guard from here and take out both your pathers. It would still waste 10 of their stamina, but at that point it's probably worth it for them. So again, probably don't have them working right by each other. Give yourself a little gap in between when you're clearing these tiles, and you can waste their main tiles also, main stamina also, which is also really, really important. I just kind of wanted to touch on that because I do think it's a great system that people use really, really, really effectively. I mean, this blanket here is so hard to clear, and it takes such a long time to clear these blankets of tiles that realistically it's a great form of warfare that if you can get used to it and fill those forts up with sort of, you know, these small pathers, then switch them in with eagle marches and switch the troops in the fort, you've got a great system of basically just giving your enemy just such a big headache. And then once they've finished like so, you can just find another tile and go again. And I doubt at this stage there's many 1 tiles left, because I'm pretty sure that's a 10. I could probably take the 10, but I don't really want to try for the sake of this. So at this stage, I'm going to have to build a fort, or I can get rid of this tile here. Obviously, the more tiles you remove, the better for your fellowship, so people can't just build forts further behind your back line. So it's also really important to clear behind yourselves. You can see now we're occupying this road tile, and we'll continue to take these road tiles around here just to clean them off, like I say. But it's really important once you've actually once you've kind of cleared an area, you must also make sure you clear behind, because it's important. If they ever push back, you don't want them to have these tiles up here. It's hard to do because you could eagle over and obviously take them. The other method of effective tiling that I could probably just kind of explain very briefly is you could use any path you want to hit the tile and take it to 0 durability like this. And then you could send any army you like on top of that, even if it's just 1 unit, just to take the tile. And that's another effective way of clearing, because if the enemy does want to save the tile, they have to use some sort of stamina on either a main or another army, which again causes them a problem and not you a problem. So it's another effective way of doing it with just 1 unit after you've already cleared the tile durability. So this one again would not work with 1 unit at the moment because there's an army on it. But if you had one unit, if that was 0 of 1, if someone had just hit it, you could just send over a single unit and it would take the tile, which is another effective way of clearing. But it's a really important skill. I can't speak enough of it, and I probably will do more videos on effective clearing because I think it's important. This is just an overview video. And with that, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. So as always, if in doubt, always follow your nose.